Okay, greetings everybody out there. Thank you to come here to the show. Give me talk. That's right, give me talk, people. We're covering the situation over there in Israel today. See what is going on there. Well, it's not in Israel. Actually, what's going on is over there in Iran. Seems like Israel has launched an attack on Iran. Um, they have actually hit Tel Aviv, from what it appears to here at the reporting is not that old. It's been about a couple hours now. But the Iranian TV is basically kind of like downplaying this for now. I guess they're going to assess all the damage. If there's not a lot of damage and they can pretty much keep prying eyes on it, they're going to make it sound like Israel missed every target. Basically, is what's going to happen. But that may not be the case. Israel may hit up quite a few targets in there. There seems, from what I hear from the talk, there seems to have been some agreements that to stay away from hitting the nuclear power plants. Anything nuclear. Now, the problem with if you hit something nuclear. Now, I've have experience in the Gulf area, and I've lived in and out of that area for about uh, 15 years. Yes, I'm back. Hey, Night. Hey, how's it going? Night Overlord. I hope you're doing great, man. Yeah, we're looking. We're talking about Israel today, and I and Iran. But I was talking about Night Lord. I was talking about Night Lord's over there in the chat room for those who may not be able to see who I'm talking about. We're talking about Israel and Iran and Israel actually striking at Iran today. But what I was saying was, you don't want to hit the the nuclear facilities of Iran, and they seem to have quite a few. There seems to be like about five major ones, and anything from energy to actually building whatever the heck they're trying to build, if you know what I mean. And these facilities the Iran borders other countries, and because of the winds in that area, this one character we're going to be talking about right there, Kim Young-il, later. But they could have a major problem. There could be some major problems there with if there's a meltdown, if there is a radiation meltdown. I mean, there's radiation leakage and there's a meltdown in one of the reactors or something. It will affect neighboring countries. All right, and I think this is what Israel is trying to avoid. Now you kind of have a bit of a if you're Israel, you're in a bit of a dilemma because if you hit them, Iran, and you blow up one of these facilities that has a reactor, you could cause a meltdown, and there could be radiation, and that whole region could be having some problems with radiation. So it might not be the best idea to do that. But if you've got a country that continues to basically threaten you with a nuclear attack, you may take up your interest strike. so, it's one of those. They're basically it's. I think both of them need to cool down. Let me see what we got here on the map here. Get a little closer here. I pulled the wrong map down. We got Jordan here. Let's see if we got anything new popping up on the map here. And the biggest problem Israel has and Iran has is they got a country between each other. They're not border with each other. And I don't think neither one of them have the military capabilities to take on either one of them, as far as manpower goes. Iran is a very large country. Israel, compared to Iran, is very small. All right, but Israel, I think, as far as advancement goes in weapon systems, probably more advanced than Iran. All right, and so kind of if you look at it, if you look at the gives and takes, you could say it kind of balances out. But to launch a ground assault, you have, first of all, you're going to have Jordan stuck in the way. You got Syria stuck in the way. All right, parts of Syria, parts of Jordan stuck in the way. If you're going to go straight to Iraq and try to launch an attack into Iran, That's going to be it's going to be very hard to accomplish that, and the amount of territory you got to cover is huge. All right, so that's going to be very hard. And to go in the other to go the other way, for Iran launching an attack, a manpower, launching actual tanks and personnel, it's going they have the same problem. All right, it's all that territory in between each other. It's not going to be easy, and I don't think neither one really have a good capability in parachuting troops into a zone, into a hot zone. All right, the U.S. and Russia and maybe even the Chinese can maybe get away with a parachute drop of thousands of troops into somebody else's country and invade. But countries such as Israel, they're limited on their air force, so is uh, Iran. All right, and also they will be seen heading in their direction from many, many miles away. You could see the planes going towards you, and you could start shooting them down before they get anywhere to each other's border. So an attack like an attack that requires manpower, you could say, where you want to bring in tanks and personnel. I don't believe that could be likely happen. Now, could they actually get together with Jordan or maybe go to Saudi Arabia and try to orchestrate some kind of sneaky attack? Mm, maybe not. And the reason I say is because there are people out here that actually are making videos, and there's some good-hearted people out there that make some of these videos and go live, but I don't think they know how to explain the politics of that area. Now, I spent 15 years in that area, and I've done work with the DoD, so I know a little bit what's going on there. All right, we got some pictures coming over. We got this guy here. I got Donald Trump here. I got some other stuff popping out there, like this stuff here. But Saudi Arabia it's their religion is it's a Muslim religion, but there's a Sunni and there is a Shiite religion. Iranians are mainly Shiites, where Saudi Arabia is mainly Sunnis. And they have had problems in the past where the Iranians actually gone all the way to the Kaaba down in Saudi Arabia and have taken it over. And there's been hostility between Saudi Arabia and Iran for quite a while. All right. From what I understand, Jordan is also mostly Shiite. All right. And Iran is basically a mixture between Shiites and Sunnis. All right. And Saudi Arabia has a form of their own Muslim religion, but they have their form is a little bit different. It's you could say it's a different. It's not totally different, but they do have like a mixture between. It's like a thing between their beliefs is kind of mixed up. Okay, but it is Muslim still, but they got some. You have to probably go there and do a little study on that. But the thing is, launching an attack, going through Jordanian. But let's say Iran wants to take now ground forces and march in and go and try to attack Israel. First of all, the U.S. has got bases still left in Iraq. All right, there are also bases in parts of the Gulf. There are bases, and there are other countries nearby. They got bases, and even Syria's got U.S. bases. So it wouldn't be such a great idea because the U.S. is still allies with Israel. All right. So launching that kind of attack is basically you're in areas which the area you're looking at when you're looking at Iran, you're looking at areas which if you're coming in with a large battle force, you can get wiped out. There's not a lot of there are mountains areas and places you may be able to hide, but there's a lot of open areas, just basically desert. Making you basically an easy target hit. All right, depending on the weapon you could hit, you could wipe an entire column of tanks. All right, and they'll get nowhere near the border of Jordan or anywhere. In Jordan, I don't think it's going to side with the Iranians. They may have the difference between Israel, but I don't think Jordan will side with the Iranians. And this is why people keep mixing up. They keep thinking that Saudi Arabia is going to jump on the bandwagon and join the Iranians, and Jordan's going to jump in the bandwagon and join the Iranians. That's not the case. I don't believe that will be the case. All right. Let me go a little bit here and look around with see what is going on. Let me see if I find anything else here on Iran. See what else can we dig here. I'm on Twitter here. United Nations car. This here, what you see up there in that corner there, that seems to be the strike that was on. It was against. Well, actually, it is the strike. That seems to be now on there. So we're looking at some of the Twitter stuff here that people are posting. This seems to be some talk about U.S. bombers, B-52s, and so on, maybe have hit the air. Well, that's standard. When you have when you have two nations that have nuclear capabilities. Now, Iran could have nuclear capabilities. There was an earthquake not too long ago, about a month and a half ago, not less, probably about a month, less than a month ago. There was an earthquake in Iran. They said it could have been a nuclear underground test. Uh, there was some talk about it. There's some radiation may have come out of it. There was just talk. I don't think they could prove any of that stuff. To tell you the truth. But when you have possible two nuclear powers, the U.S. more than likely will have their bombers on alert because things could spin out of control really fast. Especially when you had a country like Iran threatening the U.S. for a long time and threatening Israel, and they've been threatening. There's been generals in Iran threatening all-out nuclear war with the West. It's not like they kind of talk. No, they have actually threatened the U.S. with this. All right. So if bombers do go up, you could say if they do decide to put bombers or anything up, you know, it could be. It could be that the U.S. could put bombers up in the sky, protect the U.S. In case of anything, or just basically send a message to Tehran. Hey, don't even think about it. All right. So we don't know. Now, when there was an attack on Israel about a month ago, when Iran attacked Israel, they used ballistic missiles. They used some of their missiles were ballistic missiles. All right, those are the same kind of missiles that can carry a nuclear warhead. All right, and sonic missiles and all. They use some you could say some pretty high tech weapons against Israel. I guess they were beginning to think that maybe Israel was not going to strike back, but that's it was going to happen. All right. So I think Israel was just waiting to see if they kind of fell asleep on it and then hit them. It will save personnel and getting some of their planes probably hit, and shot off the sky if you can catch them with their pants down. So what's going to happen now between Israel and Iran? Is Iran not going to retaliate against Israel? I kind of amazed here, YouTube. I am truly amazed here, YouTube. I gotta give it to YouTube. And what I'm saying is, like, I got here to do a live broadcast, and there's one individual, one view. All right, and how do these other people put on their live broadcasts and have 2 or 3 thousand views? People already watching them right off the bat. And here I am sitting here with one viewer. Sad, sad, sad. So I don't know. So we'll be talking more about this stuff here. Let me see what else they got on here. This story down here that you see right here, I seen that. I believe it was yesterday, the day before yesterday when it came out. And there was talk that there was a nuclear power plant in Tehran, not in Tehran, in Iran somewhere, that was on fire. But I don't think there was any real claim that that was an attack by anybody. It was just said that the plant was on fire. So there was some speculations there. I'm not going to get into speculation. I don't have any proof. Who could it have been? Could it have been an accident? Something accidentally happened there, and parts of the plant caught on fire. I don't know. But it's kind of unusual because, a day goes by and then we have this attack, Israel attacking Iran. So could it be something there? There could be. You can actually put 2 and 2 together, either come up with 22 or come up with 4. So it's up to you the way you do your math on this one. All right, so that's that's one of the things that came out yesterday and then today you see what the situation they have in there. Now, here's what I was going to say. Going back, I'm making them cry? Yeah. I was reading something that Night Owl, Night. I'm calling him Night Owl. I don't know why, but Night Overlord was saying on there. But here's something that Israel and did. What the heck? Now you threw me out of balance. I was going to say something here important. There was wow. I just lost my. I lost my thought. Thank you for that message. I'll have to come back to it when I get it back in my head. There you go, B-52 bomber. I'm sorry, a B-2 bomber, and the two stands for billion. So because the plane costs us 2 billion, I think that's what the B stands for on that thing. I think if you took the entire plane, actually, I believe if you actually took that entire plane, took it part by parts and put it on the ground and get somebody to estimate the cost of each part, they wouldn't come up with $2 billion. But hey, it is what it is, and we pay for it. So there you go. There's some maps here, and we're on Twitter here, looking at the some of the stuff here for Iran, and we got our dude there. He's talking his stuff. I'm going through news here, so don't have a cow YouTube. And what do we got here? Man on the run. Oh, there you go. He's on the run there. All right. And more explosives, more stuff, more people talking stuff here. Gotta be careful. We don't know. There's people actually do this stuff here with Twitter, and they don't get in trouble. But as soon as I put it out here, somebody has a cow. Wait, what are you doing? Look at this guy here. Holy crap! Watch out there. You know. Yeah, I guess the UN hard at work there. It's what they are. So, there was something I wanted to say, but I just cannot remember at all what I was going to say. It has something to do with Iran. But going back, I'll just go and cover some stuff here. Oh, and also, I don't know if you guys have heard that the situation in Ukraine now has been escalated with the North Koreans. The Russia actually brought in North Koreans, and they've been seen on the ground, and they have been videotaped that they're on the ground in Ukraine. All right. Now, from what I heard, this is maybe more like a month, 2 months ago. I heard something about North Korea. Now I heard that Putin did meet up with Kim Jong Un, and they had meetings and all this kind of stuff, and there was some talk about Korea supporting Putin. All right. But from what I heard was that Russia was having problems with some of the ammunition coming from North Korea. Now, I don't know if it was like dumb bombs, okay, which just bombs you drop off a plane and, bomb people with, or if there was some technical bombs there or whatever it was, some of the laser guided bombs and other stuff. What was the actual problem there? But so, what it seems like what happened in Ukraine was the North Koreans sent technical people. You're not going to send five technicals for a massive amount of different bombs, especially if you got to change parts or whatever. You'll send quite a few people. All right. Now it could be someone on the ground there is trying to blow the whole thing out of proportion, and they're about to ask several more billions of dollars from Congress. All right, for this war in Ukraine, for the slaughter to continue. Look, I don't believe there should be any war between anybody in Ukraine. Matter of fact, even when reporting here between Israel and Iran, we should not be at war with each other. We should try to talk peace. But there could be technical people from Korea that could have gone, North Korea that could have gone, and are assisting the Russians. All right. Now, is North Korea are they going to embed North Korean troops with Russian troops? I don't know about that. The style, I believe that the way Russia, if you go and study anything about militaries and how militaries operate around the world, I don't think military strategies, Russia's training and the way they react to situations may not be in line with North Korea. All right, and just to send troops into a field and embed them into other units, such as Russian units, there could be problems developed there. All right, that could actually get more people killed than do any good. All right, so that's something they have to monitor. But I think what it is, some people are using the North Koreans entering into Ukraine as a stick to wave to Congress, but it's all propaganda to get American taxpayer money, more money for this idiotic war going on in Ukraine. Just getting, basically, just getting people killed. All right, and who knows who's really making the money here, if you know what I mean. All right. I hope they really disengage from that type of war and from all these other wars that we got going, because it's not good. That is not good, people. The war, all this is going to. Now, if North Korea gets on the ground in Ukraine and for whatever reason somebody does hit them pretty bad, especially intentionally target North Korean troops, all right, and if somehow weapons from the West are involved in this targeting, Kim Young Yu may not like that too much, and it could be that he's walking into a mousetrap. You could say a big trap there to egg on a much more bigger war and justify even more things that a lot of these people that actually love wars would like to see going in Ukraine. All right. So I don't know if that was a good idea. That was a good move by Russia or North Korea to do this. Now I know that North Korea did blow up, did take out some of their bridges and roads. They were attached to South Korea. So the South Korean army has been high alert. They're always in high alert, but I guess they'll take it one more step up. And there was even talk about South Korea possibly now helping out Ukraine with some military hardware and this so on. So we're looking at more escalation here as this continues. All right, now Putin has warned the West, has warned Israel that their support is behind Iran. So he's been warning them about that. That he's basically throwing his hat behind Iran. All right. I think Putin's got too much on his plate, and yeah, so here's the thing: is you're gonna hear Saudi Arabia, you're gonna hear some of these Arabic countries and other countries talk about Israel, and they'll say one thing in front of the cameras, and what they do behind the cameras is another thing. All right. Some of these countries are not going to benefit from these kind of regimes like uh, like Iran, all right, which is basically a loose cannon in the area. I think a lot of these countries would prefer to have economics, you could say a sound economics in that area, these boycotts stop, and some kind of government to take over Iran that's going to stop, you know, having all these problems, all these issues that they have in that area. It's not only that Iran is uh, is now practically at war with Israel. Iran has been also behind the situation with the Tutsi rebels in Yemen. This has been going on for years in Iran. Military weapons and missiles and all kind have gone to Yemen, and a lot of those have ended up against Saudi Arabia. So for Saudi Arabia or anybody to say that Saudi Arabia is supporting the Iranians, I think it's kind of crazy because I really don't believe Saudi Arabia is going to be supporting Iranians, knowing that Saudi military personnel and people that have been in those areas that the Tutsis have hit with Iranian missiles. Uh, that I mean, they're not going to do that. I really don't see that. Now, like I said, there may be some talk there to get people to think that, well, maybe Saudi Arabia will be against the war, any kind of war. Not against the war. They will not side with Israel for any kind of war against them. All right. But Saudi Arabia's bigger enemy will not be Israel. Saudi Arabia's bigger enemy would be Iran. All right. And it's been for a long time. Iran and Saudi Arabia have had problems for a long. And it's not only Saudi Arabia that has problems with Iran. Gulf nations have problems with Iran. All right. So it's been they pretty much has caused a lot of unstable stability, you could say, in the area of the Gulf. And at one time, they were just sinking oil tankers out there in the Gulf, and they were attacking ships and all kind of stuff. And Donald Trump kind of put a stop to that when he got in there. He basically warned them to stop. and they stopped. They actually stopped. And then after that, Joey got into the White House, and they launched a couple of attacks. I don't know what was said after that, but they had been on and off throughout the decades messing around the Gulf area. All right. So that's been, but there's been some developments in the Gulf area that have changed the way oil is being shipped out of there, and it's kind of put a dent on their little thing about closing down the Strait of Hormuz. That's kind of fall into the wayside, you could say, when it comes to Saudi Arabia. I mean, and when it comes to Iran and the Gulf nations. But there are people who will sit there and say, "Oh, the Saudis and the Iranians and Jordan and everybody's going to get together and bomb Israel." Shut up. I will say, shut up. Shut up. I don't care if you're a general. Shut up. Shut up. Because you're really being a retard. All right? You're being dumb about it. All right? You don't know anything about the Middle East then. It would benefit Saudi Arabia and a lot of these countries in the Gulf, including and in Jordan. Jordan's not in the Gulf, but it would benefit Jordan and all these other countries, and maybe even Syria, if Iran were to go bye-bye. If Iran's government were to go bye-bye, and a new, more modern government were to take over Iran, one that's not so oppressive against their own people, and one that just wants to play, go along with the program because they're not. Iran is basically the loose cannon in the area. This, and especially with its ambitions to develop nuclear weapons, seem worse. All right, let's see what else we got here. Developing here. We get over this picture. B-2 bomber. Some talk here with Donald Trump. This is on Twitter, so don't have a cow Facebook. This is on Twitter, somebody's page. I'm giving Twitter their little do calls, whatever. And there you go, marching there down this road. This is what Iran does with their military equipment. They basically do all these little things of marching their money, showing off their equipment. So all kind of stuff happening there. And Iran, it's not a B-2 bomber there. That was that nuclear power plant. They claim it was a nuclear power plant in Iran, nuclear facility. And some people talk about Israel being involved in it, but you have no proof. It could have been a fire. It looks to me, because it's so black, it looks like an oil fire. All right, and not only that it's black, it's when it's an oil fire. Because I've seen many, because like I said, I worked in the Middle East many years, and I lived in the Middle East many years, and I've seen oil fires. When you see an oil fire, the smoke is very heavy, and it doesn't go like up in the sky. It just kind of sags down, like just exactly what it's doing right there. That to me has an indication of an oil fire. All right, not some other kind of facility, something else where you have yellow smoke and you have white and all kind of different color smoke. You have this black, dark. This looks like a oil fire. Is what it looks like. All right. I see some white smoke coming out there at the beginning of it. They're probably pouring water on it or something. That's where you have that white smoke coming up. But there's dark smoke kind of coming to the ground right away. You can see it was just coming down. That as an indication of an oil fire. All right. So whatever was happening there on that plant. Now you can see there are some towers there in the background. That was like yesterday, or more than 30, almost more than 24 hours ago, or 30 hours ago, that this came out from Iran. This is before the attack, Israel that they did on their time, nighttime. All right, and that will be maybe something went wrong there. Some tanker, not tank, something that contains oil container got set on fire or something happened. But that's what it looks like. And Israel should be worried about this because wind conditions in the Gulf and with Tehran, you could have winds blow towards Israel. All right, and if you took out nuclear power plant, you could actually have a problem there in Israel. All right, from fallout. Now most of the wind there right now, I've seen the wind on that part of the world, and it seems to be blowing from like the Gulf area going towards the northeast, towards Russia, you could say. is where the wind's been blowing. It's been blowing away from the Gulf nations, and you could say Israel, and more towards, because it's got like it has like a almost like a U-turn where it's come from the north and it kind of U-turns back up. All right, so but the winds there this time of year, you'll have cold fronts coming in, and the cold fronts could start where you have winds pushing towards the northeast. All right, and if there was an attack on one of these uranium plants, you might see Pakistan be affected by, India might be affected by nuclear power plants in Iran, uh, being if there's a meltdown of a nuclear reactor. All right, so and but the winds can change. They change from different. They have also high altitude winds, lower altitude winds, and they change. This is what balloonists use to move around. You could say. All right, so winds do change. It all depends on how high your radiation goes and what stratosphere or whatever you want to call it gets moved around. All right, so that's what they got going there. I got some pictures. This is what happened tonight. Now this looks like you see the buildings there. It looks, and I believe that this was somewhere in Tehran. All right, so maybe they target some leaders here, and that's who got hit. Now we probably won't know nothing until we notice that so and so is missing. General so and so is missing, or this official that works for the Tehran government, or, Iran's government is missing. Then you'll notice. Then they'll finally, when somebody notices, they'll say, "Oh boy, look, that's the guy that they hit." Oh, then I heard this one here. Then now I was going to talk about that. Where Turkey and Iraq. That's another one there. All right. Now what happened is you got Turkey and the Kurds, and I forgot what they call it. There's another name that they call them in the area. But in northern Iraq, you have the Kurds. All right, and they Turkey sees the Kurds as being terrorists, and they've had problems between the Kurds of northern Iraq and Turkey. And Turkey was now threatening Iraq with an all-out war, and Iraq wasn't backing down. So, and this is because some activity seems to have happened between the Kurds and Turkey. All right, and this has been going on for years. This has been going on for decades. All right, the situation between the Kurds and Turkey. All right, and at one point you could say during Saddam Hussein reign there, pretty much the Kurds were an autonomous region. The Iranians didn't want the Iraqis didn't want to mess around too much with the Kurds, and they were kind of left alone. But then ISIS came in there and stirred up after the war, and everything went hell. There was situations developed there between uh, the Kurds that got really hit pretty hard, and the wars really kind of screwed up things in that area, different things. But the Kurds do have a situation that they have for many decades against Turkey. And like I said, Turkey actually sees the Kurds as terrorists. And there has been talk in the past that Turkey has gone in parts of that border, but it sounds like they want to do a full-blown invasion of that area, and Iraq is telling them no. All right, so that will be another, you could say, another notch in the belt of war, something big developing. I don't know if the Kurds are going to have the military might to stand up against the Turkish army. Turkish armies, because their involvement with NATO and training on all this is more, to me, the Turkish army will be more advanced than the Kurdish army. And then the Kurdish army were being used, trained, you could say, by American forces during the time that we were on in Iraq. Okay, but they were weakened at one. They were they suffered a lot of casualty during the time that ISIS went into Iraq, and a lot of them got killed, and some of them stood their grounds and fought ISIS. All right, but if you take an all-out war between the equipment that Turkey has and the Kurds have, my money will be on Turkey. I think Turkey could annihilate the Kurds. I don't think the U.S. is going to throw their hat behind the Kurds because even though the Kurds have helped the U.S. in the past, both wars you could say with Iraq, I don't think the U.S. is going to go and take on an ally because they're basically our NATO allies, Turkey. So the Kurds, the best thing with the Kurds is to play nice with Turkey and and stay within their own borders and see if things calm down there. But you don't, and I don't know how far the Iraqi government will back up the Kurds. The the Kurds in the Iraqi government, they don't get along, and they have had issues. When Saddam Hussein was there, they had some huge issues. The Iraqis had issues with the Kurds, and the Kurds did help the U.S. when it came to the war there in Iraq. All right, so there's not a lot of good blood there between the hardcore government of Iraq, even though yeah, the Saddam Hussein is not there no more. There's just not. The Kurds actually see that area as being more like an autonomous area where they should do whatever they feel like, and that's always been an issue there. And maybe that should have been that. Maybe they should have worked out something a long time ago and allow the Kurds to operate in that area and actually declare a state or declare a country for them. All right, and it would have been less problems for Iraq. Right now, it's a problem for Iraq because if Turkish troops do cross the border and go into Iran, all right, then it's crossing into Iranian territory, no matter if that area that mainly is Kurdish. All right, so Iraq will have to respond. It will basically put the U.S. between a rock and a hard place. All right, whose side do you jump on this one, if anything, or you just stay out of the whole damn thing? So. And we don't know how could this escalate because before you know it, the Kurds are thrown to the side, and you have a full blown between Iraq and and Turkey. And people even forget that the Kurds is the one stuck in the middle somewhere. All right, because you could say Iraq's army by now should have recovered some other stuff back, not like they were under Saddam Hussein, but they should already have quite a lot of equipment. And with all that equipment that was left over there in Afghanistan, probably some of that's already ended up in Iraq. All right, there's still money in that area. There's still oil deals going on, and stuff going on there. So that's to be seen what happens there, and what happens if Turkey's being hit pretty hard by the Iraqis, and they call NATO or call the U.S. to support them in an action. Maybe a bombing action to the U.S. then go and bomb Iraqis. And what about if it's the other way around? What about if the Iraqis call the U.S. and say, "Look, our country's been invaded by Turkey, and we need your help, and we're being bombed"? Does the U.S. then take their planes and go and support Iraqis? Who do they support? That's a big situation there. I guess it's going to be who shoots who first when it comes to bases. Because if Turkey gets in that area for whatever reason, they try to unleash or launch an attack on U.S. military bases that could be shared with Iraqis, then things could change. All right. So that's going to be, but then you never know. Somebody may trying to instigate something in there, so we got to be careful with that. Somebody could put together some kind of little instigation there just to get people to jump on one side or the other side. We got to hope that does not develop into anything. 'Cause it's going to be hard to pick what side. For the U.S., it's going to be hard to pick on what side they want to stand on the fence here. Where they're going to stand with the Kurds, who in the past have helped them out. Are they going to stand with the Iraqis if they jump in on the side of the Kurds? Or are they going to stand on the part of one of their? Or are they going to stand with their NATO ally, Turkey? It's a situation. YouTube, I'm feeling very lonely out here. YouTube, didn't you put my stuff there in front of everybody's face like you do with the other channels, and tell them there's a live broadcast? Lonely. I hear crickets. Crick, 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 crick. All right. Let's see what else we got here. Is that plant? Yeah, they show all this plant now. Somebody went and made a whole bunch here on Twitter. Seems like a lot of stuff here. They were putting this. This is already like a couple days back. Some of those dots you see there are some of the facilities for nuclear and bases and stuff that the Iraqis have there. Somebody posted on here. And of course, we have Al Jazeera there putting up all the good stuff there, talking about the Iranians. And Al Jazeera's been thrown out of quite a few places. I guess they seem to have a problem expanding the truth, if you know what I mean. Uh, so they got some situations there. That's not an attack there. So let me go back over here. Alright, we'll come back to that. I'm going to go over here and we're going to go back over here and what's my portfolio? Don't forget about my portfolio. I'm trying to raise up some funding for the individual with the daughter with bipolar. So I hope you guys can go there to the funding page and help out there. Just any kind of funding will help out the situation that they have, financial situation they have, and they're trying to get some special education for their daughter. Actually, they need to get some medical assistance with the problem that she has. All right, and right now, because of their financial conditions, they can't even afford that. So I hope you guys can help. They're not getting any kind of government help or anybody helping them out with anything. There are issues in that. So I put some stuff there for them. So that is my channel there. And some more stuff that I posted on there. We put it on there. So I hope you guys can take it. So we've been talking here about Iran, but I don't get too involved in a lot of talk here when I see that we basically have one person here, and we're doing a live broadcast. How can a live broadcast just attract one person? How is that possible? I'm still trying to do the math on that one. Let me see here what we got here. We got the attack happen here. See the targets they will hit here. Some of the areas they will hit here. And Iran. Okay. Now there was talk that the U.S. did use, not the U.S. the Israelis use F-35 to go in there. Some of their planes were used, but of course they're stealth fighters and they're harder to track than regular planes. All right. There was also talk about some U.S. jets being involved. I don't know about that. I think the U.S. doesn't want to go and make things worse by going in there with the Israelis. All right, so I don't think so. That was just talk that somebody said something about that, but I don't know. I don't think because once U.S. planes were to cross into the border of Iran and they actually were to assist in any kind of bombing, now you're looking at something extremely serious. Now things are going to really start escalating now in that area. All right, so I don't think I think the U.S. will prefer probably for the whole thing to cool down and everybody to just get their act together, you know, on that. So, anyway, overnight, night overlord. Man, that name is just blah. Change it to night owl or something. But a night overlord. So, what do you think? The reason for my channel here to be only one viewer on a live show for 40 minutes, we only have one live view. Any reasons you think? But don't make it anything controversy. Just throw in some ideas, maybe, if you're still there. Because I don't know what to do here as far as getting anybody watching the channel. Let me go back there and let me see if I can get back in there and to what we got here. I was going to try to get back over there to the Iranian situation. Anyway, so let's see if I can refresh this page and get rid of some of this garbage that I have on here. See if anything new has come up here. Uh, that's still it's the old stuff flying. It's still going there. And Donnie here's talking. But they did not hit this. If you guys are looking at this, it's not a nuclear power plant that got hit by Israel. We don't know who's actually behind this, but like I said, it looks like an oil fire. But that's something that took place before the attack by Israel on Iran. This is something that took place almost a full day or more before that happened. So that's just something. Might be something else completely. All right. Maybe there was some kind of activity there, or it could be an accident. We don't know. I really don't know. I wasn't on the ground, and we can only speculate unless there's an official, somebody officially claims the responsibility there. Then maybe we'll know something. But as far as I can tell, I don't think Israel's claiming anything for it. And if they did do it, they probably wouldn't claim it right now. They're claiming late. So we'll see what happens there. All right. So there is the situation is getting a little bit out of control, quite a bit out of control in the Middle East. Because now what does Iran do? What are they going to do? They're going to sit there and the thing is, Iran now wants to show the entire world that they can strike back. And one of the things that I wanted to bring out, a point that I wanted to bring out was, and I believe that was before I kind of lost my track on where I was because I was looking at something, reading something, and I lost track what I was going to say. This is a point that I wanted to bring up. A couple of weeks ago, actually more than a couple, about 3 weeks, almost about a month ago, when Iran fired all those missiles against Israel, about a couple of days went by, and Iran says that they were already reloading. Or not they said, I think somebody, satellite imaging was showing that Iran was already reloading their missiles again. Reloading their silos and reloading their vehicles that they use to launch these missiles. So I guess what I'm trying to say here is there could be a response from Iran against Israel in a very short time if they reloaded all the missiles. All right. Now, anybody who's an expert in military will kind of maybe want to wait this out because this is the time you have all your forces on high alert and you have all your missile systems on high alert. You prefer to get your enemy when they're kind of asleep. But because this war is beginning to escalate even more. I don't think neither side right now are going to be surprised by any kind of attack coming from anywhere. All right. So that may not happen. All right. So Israel, if Iran even waits, if they wait a week or 2 months or whatever and decides to attack, I don't think it's going to really catch Israel with their pants down. Now they could organize some kind of attack. Iran was Hezbollah and try to fire a lot of missiles from Lebanon. All right, and a coordinated attack between Hezbollah and Lebanon, and Tehran, and maybe who knows? Because Tehran does have, Iran has some forces in Syria, so they could launch something, maybe a three-way attack on Israel. All right, and Iran could go back into ballistic missiles again, and arm them with ballistic missiles and these hypersonic missiles that come in extremely fast. It's very hard to detect when they're coming in to stop them. All right. But, the thing about all these missiles attack is it takes time to replace the ordnance that you're using. And I think Iran by now be wondering with all this. I guess they thought with that attack that they did on Israel about a month ago, almost a month ago, that was going to be it. And that they were going to have the upper hand and Israel was going to surrender and bow down to them. And nothing. It just pissed off Israel. That's all they did. So basically, is what happened. So that's not good for them. So they did waste a lot of ammunition on that. A lot of weapons went into that. Uh, to that attack. And Hezbollah has been hit left and right, day and night. And they're having their weapons cache being wiped out. And where are they getting their weapons from? If you think about it, where does Hezbollah get their weapons from? They get them from Iran. Iran goes through Syria, and Syria then. Iran uses Syria as a land bridge to deliver their weapons to Hezbollah, for the most part. There's probably some coming in by ship and equipment that's smuggled in, and other countries may be helping out Hezbollah with their weapons. But I think the bulk of it's coming through Syria, through Tehran or Iran sending it to Syria. Through these land bridges that they are developing. That you see Iraq, not Iraq, you see Israel once in a while go out there and bomb the living ying out of it. All right. Uh, huh. I was reading something that Night Overlord put on there. Yeah, I don't know what's. I'll just come out here and I'll do what I can to put some of this stuff out here. People want to listen to somebody that knows something, what they were talking about. Listen to idiots that don't know nothing what they're talking about stuff there. I can't say anything about it. All right, so going back to the situation here with if now here's something that could in some ways kind of screw up this war between Israel and Iran. We could go back to the situation developing with Turkey and Iraq because they're like the middlemen, all right? And if a really nasty war were to take place between Turkey and Iraq right now, all right, then it may end up slowing the situation, or it may end up kind of derailing the situation between Israel and Iran, because now these two will get into a fight in the middle. Airspace cannot be invaded by anybody there. Now you got. Now there was some talk that for people they just want to talk, if you know what I mean, that Israel did not launch their air force against Tehran. That there was talk that there's one individual that I don't think he could be in charge of a lawn motor. All right, was talking about that they were using drones. They were already set up along the border of Iraq and Iran. That somehow Israel had drones in that area and they were using that. I don't think so. I I really don't think that's the case. I think Israel has been using borders. I don't know exactly how they're getting their planes there, and maybe what we see and what's being told is one whole thing. But I think Israel is. I tell you, there are people within that area who do not support Tehran in any form or shape. They may say something in public, but in reality, they don't support Iran because they know that Iran is it's a huge problem for them because they talk about Israel trying to consolidate power in that area to be the big power broker in that area. I don't think so. There is one country in that area that want to be the big power broker. They want to be the ones that control all other countries in that area. That's Iran, and Iran's got the backing of the Chinese, and now you can see Russia's throwing their hat behind them. So they will pose a power. You could say if Iran could get their act together and really have what they used to have back in the 1970s, or before the Shah got overthrown, Iran was a power to deal with in that area. All right, uh, and if they can go up to that stature, that move up, move their country because they become more powerful politically, it could be a threat to all those countries in the Gulf. we cannot throw away the Shiite and the Sunni situation out the door. You could say we cannot just say this is no big deal. It is a big deal. And that area of the world, being a Sunni and being a Shiite, is a big deal. That whole area of the world, it's their political system has a religious base. All right, that's why they have the supreme leader in in Iran, the Ayatollah, you could say, and they have the and other countries have their own religious leader. They have a lot of input. Religion is a big part, and we don't understand that in the West because, for the most part, our religious leaders don't pretty much dictate. Now they may dictate behind the scenes some things, but it's different in the West. In that part of the world, uh, religion do have an impact on the politics. All right, and where you have two different kind of religion. Both of them, they both are Muslim religion, but at the same time, they're Islamic. You could say religion, but at the same time, they're divided. There's a Sunni part and there's a Shiite part. And the Iranians, for the most part, are Shiites. All right. And the last thing Saudi Arabia will want, especially Saudi Arabia, is spending millions, not millions, they're spending billions of dollars in developing new cities and developing their infrastructure with all this money they're getting from oil, you could say. And they know that oil maybe one day will go bye-bye, so they're trying to do as much as they can, as fast as they can, to develop their infrastructure. So Saudi Arabia is putting a lot of money into it. The last thing that Saudi Arabia would want, and a lot of the Gulf countries like Dubai and other rich Gulf nations will want, is to have Iran over them like a shadow, dictating to them political policies. All right, and Iran could get to that point. If Iran is left alone and nobody challenges Iran, and Iran continues to build up their military, then you could have that problem. So I wish people stop saying that Saudi Arabia and Jordan and everybody's going to gain up on Israel, with the Iranians being the backers. No, man. A lot of these countries will prefer to see Iran go bye-bye and get erased, you could say, totally. They're not going to back them up, all right? Because the next ones in line for the Iranians, if let's say for some reason Jordan, Saudi Arabia, Syria, and other countries in that area were to join up with Iran and launch an all-out attack on Israel, and let's say somehow they were able to win a war against Israel, the next one on the plate for the Iranians will be Saudi Arabia, and the next one on the and Jordan and Iraq. All right. So it will not benefit none of those countries to side with the Iranians, knowing that the Iranians have no good intention really for that area. That their intention is domination, or to dominate that entire area. And the Shiites in Saudi Arabia and in Jordan and that part of the where not the Shiites, the Sunnis, they're not going to go along with the Shiites, which are the Iranians. So you're going to see way more political unrest. You'll see more. You'll actually, if something were to happen between Iran and Israel, where Iran somehow were to beat Israel, these other countries know they're all going to have to arm up because they're going to have to take on Tehran. They're going to take Iran. So we got some analysts out there who have their heads up their rear ends, who don't know what they're talking about. I do. I've been in the area for 15 years, and I done work with the DoD, and I know the culture, I know the area, I know what religions are they, what concerns them as far as their religion going, how deeply rooted their religion is in politics. And we don't understand that in the West too much, but in that part of the world, it's very deep rooted. And there are, the rich Islamic people or Arabics who are in rich nations. They know that if Iran were to gain big power in that area, they're going to be next to be in line for destruction by Iran. Iran's going to bully them. And you can see what Iran's been doing over there in Yemen with the Tutsi rebels. They have been arming up the crap out of the Tutsi rebels who can't even afford a pair of sandals. And the Tutsi rebels have been launching all kind of weapon systems against Saudi Arabia. So it's a big problem. All right, so we'll be looking at a lot of stuff, people. So anyway, I've been out here about an hour. I've tracked it. Only one person came out here. Everybody else is ignoring this. If you guys come here and actually watch this program later on, and you found some of this stuff entertaining or found this stuff kind of interesting, what I had to say, please subscribe to the channel. Also, don't forget, if you can, to make some kind of donation if you're able to raising funds for bipolar daughter. And all you gotta do is put your phone in front of it, the little box there, the Q code, and it'll send you to the address. Where is that? Any kind of funding can help with that. All right, so I hope you guys can do that. I'm out here, I'm doing what I can talking here, but I guess people will prefer to hear people that have no experience in the golf and prefer to hear people that don't know what they're talking about. To each his own. It's fine with me. Go watch them then. You know, I'm trying to give you the reality of the area on the way things really work in the Middle East and what to expect. And now with the situation also developing between Turkey and Iraq and the Kurds, we could have another player now, another situation get more crazier, you could say. All right. So that could be, but that's, like I said, that's been going on for years. That's been going on for decades. The situation between Turkey and the Kurds has been going on for years. Now, maybe because of what's going on between Iran and Israel, maybe Turkey or the Kurds have taken advantage of this, and maybe they kind of want to take advantage of that the entire world's focus on Israel and Iran, and they want to go at each other because they definitely don't like each other. They have been pretty much at each other's, beating the crap out of each other, you could say, in some ways or forms. Not in a major way. Mainly, Turkey sees the Kurds as terrorists. And the Kurds have issues with Turkeys, all different kind of issues with Turkeys, and they see them as like oppressors or something. And this has been going on for years. And then Iran, which is basically the Kurds are in Iranian territory, not Iranian territory, in Iraqi territory. The Iraqis feel like that's their territory, and they have the right to defend that territory. They were going to defend their territory. So even though they have issues with the Kurds, they're going to more likely jump on the side of the Kurds. So the situation gets more crazy. If you start looking at this, it just slowly, I guess you could say like a worm walking in sand or something. It's slowly making its way, but it's getting bigger and bigger. This thing is getting, it's making its way, you could say, to World War III. More now, you have of course North Korea there joining up with Russia, which like I said, it's very possible what you see, what the Koreans that you see are not really sending in major troops into Ukraine. What you're looking at is technicians, because Russia had problems with their bombs that they were getting from North Korea. So you may see they're not going to send 5 people. Of course, North Korea needs to see their personnel, North Korean personnel, need to see what a real war is if they ever want to challenge South Korea. So this gives them an opportunity to send in a couple of thousands of their troops to see what the front looks like, to see how the Russians operate. All right. And get some experience, at least. Maybe it's not going to be hands-on experience where they actually, North Koreans will be fighting Ukrainians, but they may be able to get experience in using their weapon systems against Ukrainians. All right, where they see will get some real life experience, and this is what may be the aim of Kim Jong Il sending those troops in there, but it may not be to get Korean troops into Ukraine, North Korean troops into Ukraine to actually go hit the front. And you could say in a face-to-face face-off with Ukrainian military, North Koreans. It could escalate that way. It could escalate in that direction if Ukrainians, with their ally support, decide to target straight out where the North Koreans are at. And it could cause a huge problem for South Korea. Because if you really wipe out a couple of thousand of North Koreans using NATO weapons and know-how and technicians, whatever the deal's going on there, against North Korea, North Korea could get so you got an individual there that really can go off the deep end, and before you know it, you got Seoul being hit by all kind of weapon systems, and they're not that far away from the border between Seoul is not that far away from the border of North Korea. All right, they're right there. They're very close by. You can lobby pretty much shells them all day long as Seoul from North Korea. All right, not a good thing. All right, so I don't think it was a good decision by Russia and North Korea for the North Koreans to go in there. If you had problems with your artillery or weapon dumb bombs, whatever the heck you had, whatever you claim to have problems, some kind of technical problem, bringing in the North Koreas could really escalate the situation. All right. And if North Korea, here's the thing is, how much control is Russia going to have over North Korea? Maybe right now they got them on leash. Maybe right now they got some kind of control over them. But down the road, it could be a big problem if Russia loses control of North Korea. Because if North Koreans start getting blown away left and right, it may really piss off Kim Jong Il over there, and all of a sudden he's packing up all his planes and loading them to Ukraine. What has he got to gain by going to Ukraine? Is the question. Because even if North Korea came in there and did heavy damage to the Ukrainians, Russia's not going to want them to stay there. Russia's going to tell them, get out. They're going to eventually have to leave. So the question is, what does North Korea get in return from the Russians? Now, Russians have been working different kind of deals with North Korea, and this goes back. This goes way back for a very long time. Russia gets coal from North Korea, gets different technical support from North Korea. All different things they have worked out with North Korea. And this just goes. That's a relationship that goes back many years. All right, but this time around, what is Russia going to get back from? I mean, what is North Korea going to get back by going to Ukraine? To me, is they want to go in there to get technical experience and technical battlefield experience. Maybe like I said, not face to face with Ukrainian troops, but at least from a technical experience of getting their weapons to fall on target, in case one day they have to take on South Korea, and they will want some people because their military. For the most part, North Korea's military has died out. Their military heads, their generals are like in their 90s. All right, these people are dying really fast. They don't have a lot of generals in North Korea with a lot of experience in anything. South Korea possibly has more experience because they have, they stay kind of like low, underneath the scanners, because they pretty much have been doing some work with the U.S. military and other areas around the world, conflicts that we have had in little groups, but they get to see some stuff hands-on. North Korea hasn't had that kind of experience. All right. So North Korea is one of the biggest threats to North Korea is not the West, it's China. It's one of the biggest threats to them. All right. And I think one of the reasons that North Korea wanted to develop nuclear weapons was because of China. I mean, China's pretty much been abusing North Korea like some cheap hooker in the corner. All right, and North Korea is getting sick of it. So we don't know how far that's going to go with that. With North Korea, I mean, that's probably down the road where you're going to may see problems between North Korea and China. But because now North Korea has nuclear weapons, I think China will have a bit more respect towards North Korea. All right. So it's not only that North Korea was planning on making nuclear weapons to get respect from the West. They also have a neighbor to the north, which has been treating them extremely bad, but still providing them with funding and technicians and stuff. Well, they're just getting by. But it's like having a really bad boss over your head, but that's the only job you can do. And this is what North Korea has had for a very long time. Is they has a very bad boss, a very a country that really supports them, that they can support them, but they're very bad, taking advantage of everything of North Korea and selling them their code at pennies, where they and the North Korea and the Chinese turning around and making tons of money off their code. All right, so that's been a situation there for a long time. So we'll see what happens there. But North Korea being in Ukraine with Russia may have been a bad idea for everybody in that war. And Russia may be, yeah, they're trying to say, look, we have allies too. I think that's what Russia's trying to prove, but it may be a bad idea to go in that direction. All right. I think what Russia should do in order to kind of cool things, but here's the thing: is Russia could open a Pandora box, a bigger mess than what they have right now, because the NATO forces are going to take the whole idea of North Koreans being in Ukraine and kind of, building up a huge propaganda behind them. So who knows where that's going to go? Oh, we got a little big giant yellow line from YouTube here. All right, so we're just talking here. I mean, there should be people that are allowed to do analysts work. You could say, go and do and give their 2 cents on hostilities around the world. And there should be channels or social media should allow this to hear these opinions. All right. Because we all can get in a heck of a mess here really fast if we end up taking this whole thing into World War III. Think about it, how many players we already have on this table. You got North Korea. I mean, you got Israel, Iran. Now you got Iraq, possibly with Turkey, North Korea, South Korea, Russia, United States, Syria, NATO with all the European countries. All right. And you can see where this whole thing is getting larger and larger by the minute. And of course, you got the Chinese playing different size depending on where you put them. Same thing with India can sometimes does the same thing. All right. You got some situations in Africa that's been going on for years. So, and you got the Tutsi rebels on one side down there in Yemen. You got Saudi Arabia. You got all these Gulf nations now, worrying what could happen next because they have U.S. bases. So there's a lot of people involved in this stuff. There's a lot of stuff going on, people. All right, and it seems like every time you go out and you turn on one of the social medias or you put on one of the news channels or whatever, you see some new escalation in some part of these wars, you could say, and it's just getting worse as things go down the road here. And some of these people are actually, I think they're painting themselves into a corner where it's going to be very hard for them to back out of it. If the stuff they got themselves into, it's going to be hard to back out of it. You could be looking at years of these wars, and you could also be seeing more escalation of this. But this whole thing about North Korea going into Ukraine to support the Russians, that's really bad move, I think. Really bad. I think the Russians should just tell the North Korean thanks, but no thanks. Get on your planes and leave. Who knows? Maybe Russia wins the whole pretty much the war there in Ukraine has been won by Russia. I mean, Russia's just seeing what's going to happen in the elections. They're believe me, they're not siding with uh with what's her face. They're siding with Donald Trump. They because they know they at least there will be an attempt to stop that war with Donald Trump in there. With the other side, the other party, it won't. They just keep on going. So Russia's not made a big. They tried. They have been moving their troops. They have been they're getting some areas that they're getting, but Russia's waiting on the sideline like everybody else is. After the campaign, after the U.S. campaign, what happens? Who gets in charge of the country? Then at that point, they're going to set their policy on which direction they're going to take their wars to. That's going to be the same thing for Israel, same thing for for Iran, and now if you got Iraqis involved with Turkey, that's something else is going to develop there. But they're all going to have to wait to see what happens after the campaign and what direction it goes. Because depending on the individual that gets into the White House, it's going to be it's going to have an impact on their capabilities of fighting a war, all right, or keeping the war going. So they're just waiting. We're like in a really bad situation because the entire world seems to be waiting to see what the outcome of the U.S. campaign is going to be, what the elections is going to be. That's what the entire world's waiting on. So that's not going to. That's not. I'm telling you, it's bad news all around. It could go many different ways on all this. It could, and now who knows? With the right individual in the White House, we may see the end of some of these wars. Things could cool down, and maybe somebody will have, finally start talking about peaceful solutions to this. Now, Kim there in North Korea. I don't know about him. He's really I mean, I see him as a really loose cannon. There was something being developed between Donald Trump and Kim. Uh, I think it could have gone right. It could have gone in the right direction. When possibly they took that down before it actually got any traction. The last thing is these people who are involved in war and make money off war want to see some kind of peaceful solution around the world for all countries to stop making war against each other because they lose money. They don't make any money they make. So who knows how that whole thing. I looked like it was heading in the proper direction. North Korea and the U.S. were beginning to make some headways there, and it could have maybe led to something. But as you can see, the last 4 years, that's all gone the other way. And now we got North Korean troops in Ukraine. People in the United States think this whole political geopolitics is a joke. They think that, this is never going to affect us. One day that's all going to come back and bite us in the rear end. It's really going to have an impact, all right, on everybody. Because these people are getting together. Russia, China, North Korea, and all these people are beginning. People that do not see the U.S. as friendly are getting together. And the U.S. could find themselves with some. And our allies in Europe they are going their own way in some of their policies. So who knows what direction we're really taking here? There are many different players on the table here who have different things to gain. All right, and I don't think we have like our strategy politically in geopolitics has been horrible in the last couple of years, and we have actually pushed Russia into the hands of the Chinese and North Korea, and geopolitics has gotten worse than what they were, 4 years ago. You could say. And when you have people that spend more time worrying about their people in their own country than they are worried about global politics and the impact it could have against the U.S., this is the outcome. This is what we got. All these wars. We cannot, there's no way in the world we can handle another 4 more years of this. The United States cannot continue on this road that we're in And the war cannot continue on this war without somebody trying to put a stop to all this or talking about peace. There's nobody talking about peace from our side. Practically nobody. If it continues on this road and the buildup continues, there is a buildup with with our road to World War III. There is a buildup. More and more countries are taking sides, and more people are including themselves in the list of wars. All right, and it's getting larger. It seems like now it's almost like every month some new countries joining some new faction, something, and some inciting somewhere, either siding with the West or siding with different people, different players, because it's not one war. We're not talking about only the Ukraine and the Russians. We're talking now multiple wars now. We're talking about Israel now, and what is this? Hang on a second. I don't know. So we're talking about other people. Some strange phone call I got. Maybe somebody listening to my phone call here, to my broadcast here, who has my number. If you're out there listening to me, make a donation of $5,000, and I know you're listening to me, and I will pick up the phone. All right. Uh, I know you're listening to me. All right. But we got situations develop all place. It's serious. Now, I actually get a phone call, and have you ever seen the little? It's a strange phone call I just received right now. You didn't, I don't know. I don't think you guys heard it, but I actually received a very strange phone call right now, especially for my time, a time that I'm in, time zone that I'm in. It was like, what is that? I don't know. Okay, going back to this phone call. All right. So somebody, my number is like nobody has it. Nobody has that number. All right, just about. So some call come in, and there was like emoji of somebody giving an applause, like they're clapping over something. All right. And now the individual, whoever that individual is, continues to call. So knock himself out. I don't answer the phone. What I'll do is I'll turn it off if it gets too annoying. So maybe they're listening to the broadcast. We don't. Who knows who's listening to this broadcast? Hold on. We don't know who's listening to this. No, I know it's not you. I know it's not Night Overlord. I know you're not calling. It's not that phone. It's a phone that I have that's only I only use it for family members. Nobody has that phone. And it's also very rare at this time to get a call from anybody at this time. So it's very strange phone call. All right, but for whatever the reason, whatever it is, whatever the deal is, if they're listening to my broadcast somehow, there is a fundraising going on right now on my broadcast. You can go over there and make a very nice deposit and then tell me what you want. I'll talk to you. But I don't know who they are, so we'll leave it like that. There, I am doing a bit of a fundraising here, trying to get some help here with raising some funds for a bipolar individual. that I'm trying to help out with. Okay, so I will appreciate anything you guys do there with some fundraising for that. Going to the situation here. Let me see what else has been developing here. Let me see if I can fix this here. Uh, Not much going on. Now there was some talk here about some planes in the air, B-52. That's some map of the U.S. is what you got on that side. Could there be some B-52s going into the air? Hang on a second. I'm over here over the wrong area here on this map. I'm over in Kyrgyzstan. That's a lot of action there. So you see some activity here going on. I see where it goes. But going back to the situation here that I've been talking about, B-52 bombers over the U.S. during these times, I don't see it as being too unusual. I know I don't want to be caught with my pants down. So I would have, if I am the U.S. Air Force and U.S. military, I would want some of my stuff up in the air just in case of anything. All right. So there was some individual they put this down. Now a B-52 strike on Iran by U.S. B-52 bombers. I don't know about that. Unless if we had a build up in the Gulf where we had thousands and thousands of U.S. troops for the last couple months being built up in the Gulf areas and over in Iraq and so on, then I say we're getting ready to possibly make a move on Iran. I just don't think we have been heading in that direction. I've not been hearing that kind of escalation happening in the Middle East. All right, because launching a B-52 strike and or B-2 bomber strike or whatever on Iran, what is it you're going to launch against? Are you launching against the Republican Guard? And what's the excuse to launch the attack? Because you're going to have to go back to the American people and tell them why were you launching an attack against Iran? What was the purpose? Because right now Iran's conflict is between Israel and them. How did we get into this thing all of a sudden overnight? All right, so I don't know about that. I don't know about a B-52 strike unless there was a threat, an actual threat to U.S. bases, and that's a preemptive strike. All right, and if there was an attack, if there was a threat to U.S. bases, if there was a threat to U.S. bases, all right, and we launch a B-52 strike against Iran, you just made it worse because now they're going to carry out possibly an attack on a U.S. basis, and we are peppered. The whole area, the Middle East Gulf area, is peppered with U.S. bases. They got their choice of colors to choose from. You could say their flavors, which one they want, vanilla or strawberry or whatever. They got them all over the place. It's not like now I'm sure that U.S. bases are going to be protected. Hard to say how advanced that is, but that'll be another big escalation in the area now. If you had U.S. bases get hit by Iran, and it'll be a horrible mistake by Iran to take on the U.S., thinking that the Russians are just going to jump on board to help them out. I don't think Russia right now can get on board with Iran. You got way too much stuff on your plate. How can you justify getting on board with Iran in case the U.S. hits them or Israel hits them, and you're bringing in North Korean troops. That doesn't make any sense. All right. So it would just escalate the situation. So I don't think that's. I think Iran should. I'm sure by now Iran's generals who have a really big mouth are talking huge games, what you could say, when it comes to the U.S. troops in the area. But they're setting themselves up. All right. Well, the Iranian government should be telling some of those top generals, is, hey, calm down, lower some of this crap down because you're really going to cause some H rum. All right. So not a good idea to be talking anything big there for the Iranians, and it wouldn't be a good idea for the U.S. to launch an attack on Iran right now using B-52 bombers. And we don't have to send the B-52 bombers from the U.S. to attack Iran. The B-52 bombers can come from Diego Garcia. I believe they're still there. There are bombers there, and there are other bombers nearby, closer by. And if the U.S. was considering something against Iran, they would have moved their bombers. They would have moved bombers already, assets closer to Tehran instead of flying them directly from the U.S. So that wouldn't make. There may be some activity over the U.S. with B-52 bombers, but this could be related to something else. This could be related to putting some birds up in the air because you have two nuclear powers now who are shooting it out with each other. All right, because Tehran could have nuclear bombs by now. I mean, they've had years to build up their nuclear arsenal and hide them because they can't. The thing about Tehran, Iran, they cannot really test a nuclear weapon. Testing a nuclear weapon may end up getting them blown up. Israel might do a preemptive strike on them, so that'd be a bad idea. Now there was that earthquake that they reported about, I believe it was about a month ago, or less, of an earthquake somewhere in Iran that could have been an underground weapon being tested. Hard to say. No official, and nobody really officially has said anything about one way or the other on that. So it's hard to say. All right, if that's what it was. There's some people that said some things about it, but I think it's all people making up BS. All right, nobody was on the ground. Nobody's testing for radiation. None of that stuff is going on. All right, and there is ways of detecting if a nuclear explosion went off underground or an earthquake. The wave scales are different. They come out of the seismographs that detect waves. All right, they will detect a different type of wave than from an earthquake. All right, so there are ways that can be kind of detected, but it is deep. It'll probably be deep in Iran, and who knows how much data can they get from that if they're able to really detect that was a nuclear weapon going off, an underground nuclear weapon test. But it will be really a bad idea for Iran to test any kind of nuclear weapon because it could actually bring something down on them. All right, so that's I don't know about that. But going back to this little thing that we're watching here about B-52 bombers taking off. You can watch live planes. There are sites on the internet you can watch the traffic for U.S. flights and military flights and the directions they may be heading. All right. So we don't in that direction. There's a couple planes there that one seems to be going south. Seems to be going southeast. Two seems to be going east. Another one seems to be going north. It just looked like bombers being put up in the air. All right. And they're just going in different directions. All right. You can't go by that and say, no, this is a launch by B-52 bombers going to Iran. They would have sent those bombers. The bombers would have been in some ways scheduled to arrive along with the attack, not send them way later on, you know what I mean? So I don't know about that. Yes, people just come up with all kind of analysis out here, people. Let me see. And of course, we have this little situation that happened down here with the possible nuclear facility on fire. But that was yesterday. That was nowhere. That was like more than 24 hours, I believe, before Israel launched their attack against Iran. That facility. And what I see there, like I said, I've spent a lot of time out in the Gulf, the Middle East, and I've seen a lot of oil fires. And this looks like an oil fire, even though it's close to a facility. You can see where this could be a nuclear facility. That still looks like an oil fire because the way the clouds, the way how black that smoke is. All right, it looks like an oil fire. All right, so it could be somebody, maybe some oil tank could blown up or whatever the deal is. Yeah, it still be something you want to look into because if it is on a facility, nuclear facility, we don't know what that could lead to. But that was something that's supposed to have happened yesterday, and I'm sure they put that out yesterday. Matter of fact, if you actually look at the beginning of that video, you'll see some white smoke, and that indicates there's probably already water being put on top of it to put out that fire. So you see that white smoke coming out of it. So I don't think nothing's going to come out. I mean, who knows what that could have been? It could have been an accident. Could have been somebody actually doing something there. Yeah, it could have been. That also could have been, but it's hard to tell. We cannot jump to any kind of conclusion here, but we did have some kind of a situation develop as far as a pretty good sized fire, you could say, or oil fire, whatever it was, on what appears to be a Iranian nuclear facility. That's what it appears to. But was it an airstrike? I don't think so. We probably would have heard more. If it would have been an airstrike, it would have been probably something that the Iranians would have said something over. It's crazy to take on any kind of nuclear facility, whether it be in Ukraine or it be in Iran or where in the heck is that? Because you're not going to be able to control weather. Even though there is talk about people controlling weather and this and that, there could be a chance that something really bad happens, and you could have a meltdown of a reactor, and you could have millions and millions of people affected by a meltdown of a reactor. All right, and the weather patterns could carry that into countries that have nothing to do with the conflicts of other countries. And you could create huge political problems globally. All right. If you started to attack nuclear facilities where reactors have meltdowns, there's always been a problem with any kind of attack on nuclear facilities that you could cause more damage than you're able to handle, you could say, for that country, because you're going to have to handle the fallout, the political fallout of making that decision and taking out a nuclear reactor in another country that could then affect neighboring country that could even be your allies. So, not a good decision if there was something like that down the road there. I guess the only way you can consider an attack on a nuclear reactor, and you have to be like 100% sure that they're building a weapon and you got to be 100% sure that this is a weapon they're going to use against your country. So before your country is glowing in radiation, and your people are dying all over the place, you may decide to do a preemptive strike and hit them. But that you have to be like 101% sure, not just go in there and you think, or some vague intelligence. You really got to be sure about that because you're going to have a fallout from that, from the entire region where that reactor went down. You don't know who's going to really be affected by that, and how the how the climate is going to spread that around that region. So that's one you really got to think that one over, because you're practically going into an all-out nuclear war. Just like your reactor gets hit, I mean, you hit somebody else's reactors, they can turn around and hit your reactor. It may not be a conventional nuclear. You can't call it a conventional nuclear war, but you can say it may not be an actual nuclear war where people are lobbing nuclear weapons at each other, but you may be hitting each other's reactor, which is almost the same thing. You could be causing massive radiation to spread all over these countries and stuff that will last for years. All right, it could be devastating for entire regions. Yeah, I don't think people have because we don't I don't remember a time that that countries intentionally hit other persons' reactors. All right, we don't know. I think that would be like new territory we'll get into if something like that was to happen. I mean, you have this situation with Russia, and you have the 3 Mile Island incidents that we had in the U.S. and the situation with the Japanese after the earthquake and the tidal wave hitting their reactors. These were accidents, and there's a lot of money that went into that to cleaning up those accidents, and there was the globe. You could say the global communities helped out in some of these incidents. You could say to try to see what, and it's still going around. We still got radiation from some of these reactors. All right, but can you imagine if it's being intentionally done? Can you imagine if there's a country right now that says we're going to intentionally go bomb nuclear reactors on that other country, especially when that country may have nuclear reactors? Then you're basically attacking each other in a nuclear war without the explosion part. You could say of that nuclear explosion. You could say, but you still have massive amount of radiation going into the atmosphere. All right, and it could have effect on a lot of people. Millions and millions of people could be affected by radiation clouds, and the area in which the reactors, a lot of that area, you're not going to be able to use that probably for many years. You're not going to be able to grow stuff or have any kind of city nearby or anything like that. So, and it could escalate to an all-out actual nuclear bomb going off in each other's country. So, I don't know. So that's something that was reported yesterday about this reactor in Iraq. I mean in Iran. They were supposed to have been on fire or something happened to it. All right, but I've not heard anything more about that. All right, what else? If any other news came out having to do with that, but I think if it would have been serious, we would have heard some more reports, and by now there would have been satellite pictures over the area. Would have seen if the reactor was damaged, because you could see it through a satellite where the fire's coming from. If it's something away from reactor, it's something on an adjacent building or something that's not really on the, you could say really too near to the reactor, and it could have been something they just blew up. Well, maybe somebody did take it out, but it didn't have an effect on the reactor. Hopefully, I would not want to see any kind of reactor in the Middle East or any part of the world being bombed by anybody. There's a lot of innocent people going to pay a price for people fighting each other. It was like that one time they talked about Russia was bombing a reactor. Where did they get that from? I kind of always laugh at that one, because in Ukraine, when Russia went in there and they took over the reactor that was in Ukraine, Russia took over the reactor, and it was Russian who were on the ground at that reactor. And yet, news was reporting. There was at one time where the news reporting that Russia was attacking the reactor. The Russians were attacking the Russians. Is that what you're telling me? The Russians were what, they were lobbing missiles straight up in the air and letting them land on top of them? That doesn't make any sense. Why would Russia want to blow up a reactor that they have control of? So the whole story didn't make any sense. And then there was people that actually went and looked into it and seen that there was shelling being done of the reactor, of that area where the Russians controlled the reactor, but it was being done by the Ukrainian army. And the Ukrainians were saying that the Russians were shelling the reactor. Which you see, the story for the Ukraine made no sense. All right, Russia attacking Russians within their own reactors. That makes a reactor they control. That makes no sense. And not too long ago, a couple of months ago, that came up with the same BS story that Russia was attacking the reactor that they control. That doesn't make any sense. It just doesn't make any sense. Why would Russia want to attack their own reactor? You know, didn't make any sense. All right. So I don't. I hope. I don't care what side you're in when it comes to these kind of conflict. I hope they stay away when it comes to any kind of nuclear weapon or hitting each other's reactors. There's a lot of innocent people that have nothing to do with these wars, just going to lose their families. They're going to be affected by these radiations, by the radiation for many, many years. The entire world right now is in kind of a chaos right now. A lot of these powerful nations are now looking at each other to hit each other. There's a lot of players behind the scene, more than likely egging this on. All right, but the entire world stands to be affected by it. So people need to. They're gonna have to calm down on this because this could really escalate. Look at the situation between uh, Israel and Iran. It's been escalating. Every month it seems to be escalating, and it seems to getting stronger. And now you can see Israel also against Hezbollah over there. And what can Israel do when somebody decides to lobby a whole bunch of missiles at your country? For just lobbying it, you know, you protect your country. I don't care what country, and you're going to protect your country. Whatever country you're in, somebody lobbies a missile at you, you're gonna lobby one back. Uh, it's just the way it works, you know. So it's just like I don't think people can think beyond the next 10 seconds in their life what the outcome is for an idiotic decision. All right? Especially in the world being so tense as it is right now, with so many geopolitics in so many different directions, and so many people, these power players, who are trying to take over more and more, you could say, of everything around the world. And everybody is like stuck in the middle, doing all this stuff, and and people who think they're siding with the right cause, they may be siding with the wrong cause completely. It all depends on perspective and what you really know about what's being fed to you. And all these people who are reporting this stuff, there's a whole mess of people out there who are basically straight out propaganda. It's what it is, man. So you as an individual just need to be aware, no matter what part of the world you're in, is if you're not in government, you're not in the military, you're not in nothing to do with this, you're probably out of the loop of what's really happening. And you need to be prepared for your family. You know what I mean? Stay prepared. Spiritually and physically, you want to call it, or you could say, have food and stuff, water. You never know what's going to happen with this stuff. If you're anywhere near these conflicts, uh, and you're not in politics of any form or shape, and you're not going to be going to any underground facility in case something happens, then, keep an eye on all this stuff, because things can really spin out of control. And sometimes what looks like the boogeyman is not the boogeyman. And I think there's a lot of and the boogeyman could be something completely different. It could be on the other side completely. All right. And we have to look at it that. We have to look at everybody's perspective from every side and not just try to get a picture. It's like looking at a Mona Lisa and you're only looking at one little tiny corner of the Mona Lisa, was never seen the picture. You think that that's the entire picture is what it seems there. You haven't seen the entire thing. You really got to study this and see what led to all this. How did all this came out? Would it make a difference in your life knowing a lot of information? Maybe not. But at least you'll know whose side you should be really standing with when it comes to some of this stuff. All right. And sometimes I think there might not be good players on both sides or on either side. And sometimes maybe they both are trying to do something good for each other. But we're going back to almost like a time that we used to be going back towards the Middle Ages, and you could say a couple hundred years ago, where we we seem to be heading backwards as humans to a time where we settle our difference with guns and knife. Here goes that. Instead of looking at ourselves as being more modern and say we're going to settle our difference between bringing about peaceful solutions, it almost seems like we're falling back to a dark time where we're going back to the whole thing about invading each other's castle and destroying and causing as much destruction as we can to each other. And this is the only thing people understand. And this time, and this age, that's a really bad idea. We're not just going to be destroying one person's castle. We're going to destroy everybody's castle, all at one time. With the weapons advancements that we have made, we have enough weapons on this earth to literally annihilate the entire earth, all the world's population, and every single living thing. Well, there's nothing left alive. All right. So look at it that way, people. It really is a bad situation, you know, for a lot of people. Anyway, I've been out here for a while. I hope you guys also don't forget that I'm also doing a bit of a fundraising out here for individuals with bipolar. And you can always scan that on your phone, your QR. Go to the address down there and do any kind of donation. It'll be appreciated for that. And if you missed something on here, just go back to the beginning and listen on this video. This is a new channel, so that's why you're not seeing too many people viewing this channel. Basically, it's a new channel. And maybe as I get more people out here to subscribe to the channel, I'll get more motivated to come out here and talk more about different things. But I wasn't planning on really doing anything today. If it wasn't for this attack that Israel did on Iran, maybe I wouldn't have come out here today. I came out here today because I wanted to put in my 2 cents into this. And I want people, I know people are going to be they're out there nervous. And people are thinking about what's the next outcome. And then there's a whole bunch of people out there throwing gasoline into the fire. All right. When I mean throwing gasoline into the fire, is there are people out there who literally live off this stuff of seeing these little times when people bomb each other to come out there and make these videos and really scare the living yang out of everybody. I'm not here. I'm not here to scare you. If you're nowhere near the Middle East at this point or out there by Ukraine, you might be, for the most part, you're probably okay. Well, of course, there are some parts in Africa that are being affected now by different type of things. But if you're really away from these conflicts, you may not be affected by this stuff, not for the time being. All right. Hopefully, the right individual will get into the White House, and maybe, but it's not guaranteed, even if the right individual get into the White House, that we're going to have peaceful solution to all this. It's not guaranteed. All right. So we'll see how that works out. All right. But there are countries right now who are involved in these wars who are waiting to see what the outcome of the U.S. elections are going to be before they make their next big planning on what they're going to do military-wise in these wars. All right. So we'll see what happens with that. Say some prayers out there, people. Prayers do work. All right. And let's hope for the best here. That this doesn't escalate, continue. And the sad part is it is escalating, that we are seeing new players get into this. I am still, puzzled about North Korea and their little whole thing about joining in with the Russians. Like I said, I believe that a lot of the North Korean things are going to be played off. The individuals who want to see that war go on are going to use it as a propaganda piece to possibly take what might appear to me. It appears like technicians from North Korea have gone to Ukraine because Russia was having problems with their weapon systems. They got from North Korea, but the North Koreans may be using it as an advantage to go in there and send in some North Korean military personnel to get experience or know what a battlefield looks like, and maybe even get some experience behind some other technical equipment that they have sold to the Russians. So it could benefit North Korea, but also it could also create a problem between North Korea and South Korea, because South Korea was talking about throwing their hat behind the Ukrainians. So we already see another escalation there of another two countries involved in this. I don't know. I hope they defuse from all this, and those people that want war go to an island and go kill themselves or something. You know, war is never good for anybody. All it does is bring death and destruction to everything. And we have the capabilities to talk our way out of a lot of these things. And everybody could somehow at least tolerate each other without trying to blow up each other. You know? So we'll see what happens. So anyway, I thank you guys for joining me out here and watching this program that has little to nobody on it. I don't know if Night Overlord's still out there, but thank you for joining me out here. And maybe we'll do more broadcasts as time goes. I've been out here for a while now, and I will, keep an eye on the situation, what develops here in Israel. We might see something in return from Iran on Israel soon, because, like I said, there was talk a couple of weeks ago that Iran was reloading their systems, their silos, and their military launching vehicles were being reloaded with new missiles. There was talk about that. This is weeks ago, after they did that attack on Israel. About a week later, they were talking about Iran was already loading up again for another round. So Iran may have the systems already, you could say, armed to retaliate. All right. But I think Iran needs to think this one over. I will tell Israel, both of them, you're both going to have to think this one over, because if you keep going on the direction you're going to annihilate each other. Because they do have the capabilities. Iran and Israel has the capability to annihilate themselves. All right. This is not like the situation it was between Iraq and Iran going back into the 80s. If Iran would have had the technology that they have now, and Iraq would have hit them with that technology, Iran would have won that war. Iran would have probably had all the land between, Iran right now, the border of Iran, all the way up to Jordan. They would have controlled that whole territory. All right. But the Iranians back then didn't have the kind of weapon systems they have nowadays, and they were basically in an all-out conventional war between Iraq and Iran. But this is different now. This is an Iran that for years and decades have been arming themselves to the teeth. All right. And extremely high-tech weapons. All right, so this is not the same Iranian army that fought back against Iraq, a couple of decades ago. This is a different Iranian military. And Israel is also very advanced in weapon systems. So we'll see what happens there. Anyway, you guys have a good one. And we'll keep an eye on this, and I'll come back here live once in a while. And if you enjoy the show, please go over there to fundraising, to my fundraising, right there, you see it on top of there. Go to the short little link that I made there, or you can scan the QR code there and go to the link and make any kind of donation to help out the family. Okay, so all you guys have a good one out there. Let's pray for peace, and God bless you all. And I will see you hopefully in my next show, maybe, who knows, in a day or two, or maybe even back tomorrow. We'll do another show. Okay? I will see you then. Bye-bye now.